Welcome back. Sustainability has become a focus in many industries, from farming to energy. But did you know that interior design is also incorporating sustainability into its practice? With me right now is Alan Horwitz, Professor of Interior Design at Berkeley College. Welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. We love talking about sustainability and, more importantly, how we can improve what we're already doing, right? Talk a little bit about what sustainability means in interior design.
Well, sustainability is a broad topic, and as it relates to interior design, it's really about creating the best possible environment for the people that are going to be living or working in particular places. So it has to do with air quality and lighting quality, views to the outside, things that make people feel comfortable and happy in their surroundings.
So when we talk about sustainability, it's not just what's good for the earth. It's not just what's good for our bodies, but it's also about how we feel.
It's very much about how we feel. All those other things are, of course, important, and part of the way that we practice sustainable design in interiors and how we teach it at Berkeley is awareness of the big picture. Everything has to be thought about within the context of the overall issues that we as a society are facing in the use of our resources and how we're dealing with our physical environment.
Give me some examples. What are some ways that you would approach a space saying, these are eco-friendly products that we should be using?
I was just in Home Depot the other day looking at paints. And we, in almost all environments, we have painted surfaces of one type or another. And you can either have paint that's made with typical chemicals that have toxicity levels that you wouldn't expose anybody to, yet we go ahead, put them on our walls thinking that, oh, it's a pretty color.
This is the VOC, right? I've done a little bit of painting inside my house. I know those.
Right, so that acronym VOC stands for volatile organic compounds. And volatile is the operative word there, meaning that when they interact either with sunlight or with other chemicals, they can create toxic off-gassing, which is obviously not healthy and not very sustainable. So in the same aisle of paint at the Home Depot, you can also find paints that either have very low VOCs or in some cases zero VOCs, which are clearly going to create a much more healthy and safe physical environment.
Give us another example.
Yeah, well, lighting is a huge issue. Non-designed or low-designed environments, we find fluorescent lighting, which is very glary on the eyes and creates harsh shadows and areas of over-intensity, so you can't appreciate coloration and you can't appreciate texture of materials as well. And
of course, that's what we see in dressing rooms, right? If anyone who's ever gone to the mall and tried any clothes on knows that that's the case. But
that's right. And so from a sustainability perspective, fluorescent lighting is horrible because it uses mercury and other types of chemicals to create the phosphors that actually make the light, and mercury is toxic.
So what's a better solution?
Well, in today's designed environments, we find that using what are called LED light fixtures, light-emitting diodes, have a they make the light in a different way. First of all, it's all electrically generated as opposed to making a chemical glow. And they are much more controllable in terms of the light output as well as the color temperature, so that they can be calibrated to the types of finishes and surroundings of a particular environment.
So you said that they can be color adjusted, right? Because
yes.
I find that sometimes they're a little bit blue, and people may not want that kind of blue color in their home. It feels a little bit cold.
Yeah, that's true. And I think we're probably 15 or so years into the development of LED technology. In the earlier days of LED, there was much less calibration that was possible. And so those lights did have sort of that harsh bluish characteristic. In today's technologies, as they've advanced, they've become much more environment friendly, and the quality of the light that comes from the source is much more what we're accustomed to in seeing in terms of other types of sources.
A little warmer.
Warmer, more user-friendly.
So you've actually done some work creating these sustainable spaces. Can we take a look?
Oh, please, yeah.
All right, so we're going to look at our first photo here. Tell us about this space.
Well, this is a very interesting project that we did with my firm, G3 Architects, a couple of years ago. And the client had come to us and said, okay, we've inherited this giant atrium that was trying to behave as a lobby for a large-scale office building. In the atrium was what, for lack of a better term, was a botanical garden. There were all sorts of trees and other types of plant life that was not appropriate for a commercial office facility.
So what did you do to it?
In somewhat of a controversial initial decision, we recommended to the client that we take all that stuff out and replace it with this, which is, as last time we checked, this is the largest living wall. This is called the living wall, largest living wall on the East Coast. And that image is a living plant wall that's made out of about 12 different varieties of plants. It's about 75 feet tall and about 65 feet wide. What it does is it delivers the same environmental properties as the trees that were just running wild in the atrium previously, in terms of oxygenating the air and creating both a visual and a perceptual sense of healthiness in the environment, but it does it in a much more corporate, appropriate design aesthetic.
So how are you teaching this in the classroom? How are you teaching your students at Berkeley College to apply this model of sustainability? The
biggest thing that we need the students to understand, as I said before, is the awareness of the big picture. Because when we think about interior design can be considered somewhat of a secondary level of design practice when you compare it to designing a building or town planning. But interiors is really where people have their greatest interaction with architecture. We spend over 90% of our time inside places. So it's important for the students to have that awareness, and also to have awareness of the importance of making healthy selections. This is an example of a student project that's up here where I gave them an assignment to design a conference center in a student building that I personally designed previously. And here the design goal was to use all sustainable practices and principles, so they're very sensitive to material selection, very sensitive to lighting, as we discussed, sensitive to the activities that are going to take place, because not only is there visual quality that's important and sustainable materials, but there's acoustic quality that has to be part of a conference center. So they have to be aware of all these different issues and then be able to create a design. Here's an example of a student that did a illuminated ceiling using natural wood products to give a sense of warmth in a lobby of a reception area, but also create an unusual lighting effect that has some visual sparkle, as well as some very high-quality environmental touches.
Important to note, too, that Berkeley College recently received an accreditation from the Council for Interior Design Accreditation. That's CIDA, right?
That's
CIDA.
correct. Yeah.
What was that accreditation, and what does it mean?
Well, CIDA is a national organization, and they are responsible for ensuring that the quality of instruction that's offered in a program that grants a professional degree, like ours is a Bachelor of Fine Arts in Interior Design, they're responsible for ensuring that the quality of instruction and the topics that are covered is consistent throughout the entire country. So for Berkeley College to have earned a CIDA accreditation means that our students, when they earn their Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from our program, are coming out with the same level of knowledge and the same level of skill as any other student studying at a BFA program in any other school in the country.
Pretty remarkable. Alan Horwitz, Professor of Interior Design at Berkeley College. You're not just impacting your students, but all of those lives who they will then go out and touch. So
that's the big idea.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me.
Wonderful.
Life and Living has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been provided by Partners for Health Foundation, New Jersey State Nurses Association, and the Institute for Nursing, Suez, Wells Fargo, New Jersey Sharing Network, the Turl Fund, supporting Right from the Start NJ, and by Community Food Bank of New Jersey. Additional support provided by Melandre Salon and Sulis Spa. Look beautiful, feel beautiful. Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been produced in partnership with TriStar Studios.